Hey everybody, I hope everybody's having a good day. It's super cold here in Flin Flon, but we're going to bring a little heat in by interviewing my good friend Jake Kelly, who's coming all the way from California. So hey Jake, how are you doing today?
Good. Thanks so much for having me on. I so appreciate it. So fun to be here with you. I'm bringing the sunshine to you.
Yay! So the reason I asked Jake to let me have a little chat with her, with all of you guys getting the benefit of watching, is because Jake is a really successful young entrepreneur that I now have the privilege of working with. We're working with the same company, and Jake's become not only a friend, but an amazing mentor and teacher. So I wanted to take some time today, Jake, just to kind of throw some questions at you that people have been throwing at me if they're a little bit curious about the business that we do. So the first one is, and I mean, you get this because you live in a smaller community, is people often say to me like, well, how could I get into a business like this when you're already doing it? Like there's only 5,000 people or so. How could more than one person in a small community get into doing an online business like the one we're doing?
That's a really good question. And, what's interesting is what we've actually found like, company-wide, and so not just my experience, but what the company really even comes forward and says, our particular company, is that building in small towns is really where our business comes from. That small towns are like the lifeblood of our company. And yes, you can like run into other people that are doing the same thing as you, but what's cool about it is that when someone hears about it from multiple people, it adds credibility. It's like that third party validation thing that happens. And so, it's all about creating the relationship with that person. And if they decide they want to be your customer or be your team member, that's awesome, but maybe someone else is a better fit for them. And so we really think of it as like non-competitive, and we want people to work with and be customers with who they choose. And that's totally awesome. And one thing that our president and founder says is that the reason that third-party validation is so important is that people believe that one person will lie to you, but that two people won't. And so if someone's like, if you've introduced it to somebody and then they go out and hear from someone else, they'll come back to you and say, oh, someone else is just telling me about this thing that you're doing. I want to be part of it now. So it's actually awesome to be in a small town, and you can all work together and do events together and be connected and bring all of your resources together. And because no one's out there like trying to steal each other's customers or like team members, it really works seamlessly together. So, working in a small town is awesome. So the other reason for that small towns really do well is because when you're in like a big city, there are so many things pulling our attention. So many things. There's different events every night, multiple types of different events. Like there's such a bustling schedule in a city that people don't want to come to your event that you're doing potentially. Whereas in a small town, maybe there's not a lot of like extracurricular things happening. Maybe there aren't things that happen every single night, or maybe it's cold and people want to like be together in someone's home. And so you can actually create more of a community around what you're doing in a small town than you can in a big city. And I've seen this over and over and over again. So I mean, if I had my choice, I would be in a small town to build my business. And then the final piece is that because of social media and the internet, you can actually have team members and customers from all over the world. So yes, maybe you only know a handful of people in your town, or maybe you know everyone in the town, but you don't have to stop there. You can spread out into, we all know people in other states and other countries, and you can, because of the social media, you can engage with them about what you're up to as well. So there's really no disadvantage to being in a small town.
Yeah. Well, and I always like to tell people that I actually didn't meet my team that I now work with until I'd been in the business for several months. So yeah, social media is pretty cool. Yeah. So another thing people often comment to me about is that they're not sure they want to do something like this for a couple of reasons. One is they can't imagine they would have the time, and the other one is they don't want to be salesy and feel like they're bothering people. So what do you say to people about that?
Yeah, the salesy thing is that's a question we get from everybody. That was actually my hesitation as well. I've been around this type of business almost my whole life. My mom has been an entrepreneur for the last 24 years. And so when I was first starting to think about joining her in business, I was like, I don't want to be salesy at all. It took me a long time to even look at this business because I thought that I had to be a salesperson. And so it took a long time for me to get that you're not selling. And we actually find that people who are really good at traditional sales don't do very well in our business because it's a relationship building business. It's not a sales business. It's not about like pushing someone into doing something. It's not about hounding people until they say yes. And we share what we're doing and what we really love, what we're loving. And we share why we think it might be a good fit for them. And if they think so too, that's awesome. But if they don't think that it's a fit for them, then that's awesome too. I always say, like, I never want to talk anyone into doing anything, because then I'm going to have to always be talking them into it, whatever it is. So if they join my team, I'm going to have to always be like reassuring them this is a good idea, or continually talking them into what we're doing. So we always want this to be a fit for somebody and not feel like they're being sold to. And everybody who comes to work with us, almost everyone has that same fear. And when they actually start implementing our system and doing what we do, they're like, oh, this is not at all what I thought this was going to be like. This doesn't feel like pushy or salesy to me at all. So we really worked hard to create a system that is like the anti-sales pitch approach. And so there is a way to be in quote unquote sales. We sell a product and we promote a company without it being like salesy and icky. So that's the first thing. And then as far as the time thing, that was also a concern for me, because when I first started looking at a business like this, I was in college. I was playing sports at the Division I level. I had a boyfriend. So I was already crazy busy. But for me, I was already on social media pretty regularly. And so because I could build this business on social media, I just kind of swapped out some of that like random scrolling time with working my business. And so for me, it didn't actually add any more time into what I was already doing. It just kind of, I substituted that time. And then for people who, don't want to use social media, because there's a lot of those people who don't want to be online, what I've seen people do is that they go about living their life. They take their kids to sporting events. They go to doctor's appointments. They go to the grocery store, and they're just open to engaging with people when they meet out in the world. And so it's just like, it's kind of like they're just doing their business as they do their life. It's not actually any more additional time. So I totally get that. Because, everyone is so busy. Everyone is already so busy, no matter what we have going on, everyone's busy. So no one wants to take on another, 30-hour a week, thing. So really fitting this in those stolen moments and kind of working it into how your life already is really the key.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. And you guys have sure taught me some ways to work it into my life. So a little bit of maybe a personal question for you is, like, you're smart, you've got so much going for you. You're young. Why this kind of a business? Why haven't you chosen to do some other kind of career?
Yeah, that is a great question, and something that I get asked once in a while. Because entrepreneurship can sometimes be hard, and it's like it's kind of all falls on your shoulders, and it's a different kind of hard than working a 9-to-5 job for 40 years that maybe also feels hard. It's a different type of hard. And for me, the reason that this type of business made sense is that I really got the importance of creating residual income. So I knew that if I just continued on with what I was doing, I was managing my parents' urban rooftop farm down in Santa Barbara, California. And while I loved that and it was really rewarding work, I was trading hours for dollars, and there was definitely a cap as to what I could earn. And I knew that I was making as much as I could possibly make, and that's where it was going to stay forever. And so it just clicked for me that like, I didn't want to be trading hours for dollars. I wanted to be able to go on vacation, but not like be stressed out because I'm not going to be earning any income for the time that I was on vacation. So with a business like this, you can create residual income where if you put in some pretty serious work at the beginning, it can sustain itself and allow you to have that time freedom that I was really looking for. So for me, that's I know that I could go get a job and there's a lot of different things that I could potentially do, but nothing that's going to create the type of residual income that I've been able to create with a business like this.
Yeah. And for anybody who's watching this, like, now that I've met people that are really serious in the business, like yourself and your mom and other people on our team, I sure wish I'd gotten into this years ago. So kind of lastly, let's say somebody's been watching this and they're like, okay, this is kind of interesting, but I'm not sure if I've got what it takes. what would you say, or maybe say 3 qualities that you would want a person to really tap into to be successful in this kind of.
Okay, cool. I'll just say one thing quickly before I give those 3 qualities, is that what I love about this type of business is that it doesn't require any type of particular background or expertise. Like, you don't have to be, business smart. You don't have to be already successful in something else. You don't have to be a doctor or a professional athlete. You don't have to have any kind of special credential in order to be successful at this. I've seen people who didn't graduate high school do better than doctors in a business like this. So it all comes down to what your desire is and what you're willing to put in. And so the 3 qualities that I would say is, one is desire. Right? You have to have a desire to create change, because it's easier to not start something than it is to start something, right? So you have to have the desire that pushes you to start something new and create something outside of what you're already doing. The second thing is a work ethic. So it's not that this takes 60 or 80 hours a week, but it does take consistent effort, whether that's, 5 hours a week or 10 hours a week or whatever it is you want to put into it. It does take consistency. And that's really the fundamental thing that I see that in people that are successful and those who aren't, is who's showing up every day, whether it's a little bit or a lot, to their business every day. So that's the second thing. And then the third thing is coachability. So it's you can have those first 2 things, but if you're not coachable, if you're not not willing to look at what's already been created without having to go back and reinvent the wheel, you're gonna have a tough time. If you're not willing to look at what systems that are in place, you're gonna have a tough time being duplicatable. So showing someone else how to do what you've done. So being coachable and taking the advice of those who have gone before you and have had the success that you're looking for, and kind of, yes, bringing your own flair and bringing your own personality and kind of your own creativity to it. But the foundational pieces, like being willing to kind of be led and be coachable. So those are the 3 things that I think are probably the most important. No fancy business degree, nothing, you don't have to be a nutritionist or anything like that. What I like about those 3 things is that those are not things that you're born with. Those are things that you can develop. Those are the skills that you can develop. You can develop to be all 3 of those things, which I love. So anyone, no matter what, can take this on and really be successful at this if that's what they want to do.
Yeah. Okay. I think you just kind of flit it out there for a second, but yeah. Well, I really appreciate those answers. And, I'm going to throw one more thing in, and that's my experiences. This has really been a lot of fun too. I think that the team culture we have is really, it was surprising for me, to be really honest, how welcoming everybody has been. And it's so fun to be in a little place like Flin Flon, but now having all these friends who live in the United States and of course other provinces, but Saskatoon, I got to say that. So it's neat. So I'm hoping that if this caught somebody's attention, that they'll reach out and have further conversation with us.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much for your time, and please blow as much heat and sunshine as you can.
You got it. I definitely will. Thank you so much for having me on. It was so fun being with you.
Thanks, Jake. Bye.
Bye.